I also noticed you're against Christ mythers, and rightly so. Like, how do you view Yeshua himself?
So for me, the historical Jesus, I'm in line with people like Bart Ehrman, Paula Fredrickson, who see him as a apocalyptic prophet who was perhaps a disciple or some kind of an associate of John the Baptist. And so he preached in Galilee, probably went up to Jerusalem frequently, and then in his 33rd year or whatever, he made a trip to Passover. He was lauded as Messiah, and Pilate decided to have him killed to, prevent any kind of insurrection. And so I think, I think he clearly existed. I just have no doubt about that. But I just don't think he was the miracle working Son of God that Christians think of him.
Well, I always put it the funny way is like people say, do you believe Jesus was the Son of God? I'm saying, well, in Jewish culture at the time, to be a son of God was to be a Jew.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, the moniker Son of God is taken by Christians to mean the son of a like the literal son of a deity, or in the sense of like what the Book of John talks about. He's in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. So, but yeah, you're right. In first century in Second Temple Judaism, a son of God was a Jew. A son of God could be the Davidic Messiah. There's different ways or different things that son of God could mean that did not necessarily entail he was divine. And I think this is how the Synoptics understand it.
Christ mythers love this theory that that because Augustus Caesar was called Son of God, that they copied off of him, but that's not really the case. He was the son of the god Julius Caesar. Forgot how you pronounce it in Latin, but
yeah, he was the adopted son, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Augustus was the adopted son, and in Roman culture, the adopted son was the one who inherited.
Yeah. And then they said he was the divine son of the god because Julius was deified upon his death.
Yeah, which isn't anything like what happens in the New Testament. This is an entirely different animal altogether, So yeah, I think it's Chris Hansen who wrote a post about parallelomania.
Yeah,
they see parallels everywhere, so therefore it must be that Jesus was, and no, that's not how it works. That's not the case. So
you ever want to thoroughly debunk that? Just to any nutty Christ myther, that level of Christ myther who comes to you, just link them to Inspiring Philosophy series on it. He goes through every single demigod that they compare Jesus to.
Yeah, Horus and all those. Yeah,
Krishna,
That's the funniest person to actually compare Jesus to, because when you actually read the stories, it's like I don't know a single Egyptologist that would ever make that comparison.
Yeah. And yeah, you're exactly right. The background literature for the New Testament images of Jesus is clearly the Hebrew Bible. That's the background. The background isn't all these other. I mean, undoubtedly there's some influence, but it's so minor compared to how the gospel writers were influenced by the Septuagint. And if you miss that, you've missed everything. Now, mythicists will go to the extreme and say, well, see, all these stories are from the Old Testament, so none of it happened. All of it's fake, And I think it's Martin Goodacre who said the Gospels are a history scripturized. That it's this idea that they've taken snippets of history and use scripture to frame it. I think that's probably right. For the most part. I mean, there's obvious embellishments, but I think that's for the most part correct.
And there's the other line of Christ mythers who even reject that zeitgeist comparisons and will point to these other demigods and say, see, he wasn't compared to those gods, he was compared to these gods.
Yeah, it's perplexing. And that's not to say that all Christ mythers are, wackadoodles or deluded, as some atheists would call Christians. I just think, there's some very sincere mythicists that I've talked to, and they have really very interesting arguments, and I've had some good conversations. I just don't,
for the most part, it's almost entirely emotional position, kind of like younger creationism.
Yeah, it tends. Yeah, I think to some degree, I think it does tend, at least on a very popular level, it certainly is, because the arguments that you can get into get very heated very quick, and that to me reeks of fundamentalism. So yeah.
I think the thing is that many atheists, mythicism was their gateway into atheism. So, that's what O'Neill said. He had like 2 or 3 atheists actually come to him like through emails, and it told him that what made them, that they were hesitant to take his view because they were worried that if they accepted Jesus existed, that would invalidate their atheism, because that's how they came to it to begin with.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that, because for me, that I hadn't even encountered mythicism until after I was already an atheist. Part of that is just because when you are in the midst of, I was doing youth ministry, so in the South, so those issues never come up. The more common issues that came up for me were, hey, Dan Brown said this in the Da Vinci Code. What do you think about that? Or I mean, seriously, I think frequently that kind of crap came up. So the apologetic that I had built was more geared toward those issues, and mythicism. I wouldn't have. I've never heard of it. I'd never heard of Richard Carrier, Robert Price. Those not until after I was an atheist.
You were lucky.
yeah, I was naive and lucky. Man, I miss those days.
Da Vinci Code makes a lot more sense than Carrier's hypothesis of the cosmic sperm bank.
Yeah. Oh man, his reading of Romans 1 I just
don't get it.
I mean, I mean, it's just so frustrating, because he latches onto this one word, this sperma, but then he doesn't apply the same logic to it as he does to the other occurrences of it in the rest of Romans, or even I think Galatians. I don't know. It's an inconsistent hermeneutic, that's for sure.
Just wait until he tries to explain it in his upcoming book, Jesus from Outer Space, or whatever, that comes out on April Fool's of all days.
Oh wait, I thought it was coming out in September. Is it really April 1st?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay.
And here's the subtext: he came from outer space.
Oh,
And what I